Welcome to the 2023 season debut of Hashtag Football Friday. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is Second City Sports. I'm Sid the Kid, which is me. Lakima McGee, that is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and Keenan scrolling in the IG.
Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch up on the other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please find us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, and YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please finish it up by following War Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to be a lame be about.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad. Get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your PC or your Chromebook like I'm using right now, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
We will provide, as it is Football Friday, and of course it's that time of year. We love this time of year here on Second City Sports. We're gonna kick. Well, actually, you know what? After we do our, of course, we're gonna have Cubs talks MLB the last couple of days. Also, too, we got week 2 of college football, some great matchups coming up, and of course, we got our Football Power Hour, Football Friday. Of course, we kick off with a debut, one of our new friend Taylor Dahl, host of Making Monsters, part of the Woody City Gridiron family, and also too. She's also one of the hosts of Helmets and Heels, a show on 10 a.m. 92.5 FM. That's in Jacksonville. We'll talk to her about all that. So, and also too, of course, our girl Christine, the Queen Manika, will join us for our third. I think it's the third time we're doing this with her. Our picks for today.
Year 3 for her. Yep.
Yeah, for NFL weekly picks. So can't wait for that.
All right, Lakina, before we get to all that, we'll, as you mentioned, kick off the show with baseball, of course, locally here. We'll start off with the Chicago Cubs. They took it on the chin last night against the Arizona Diamondbacks, dropping the first game of the 4-game series at the Franklin Confines by the score of 6-2. Tommy Pham was the man for the Arizona Diamondbacks as he cranked out 2 home runs, and the Arizona Diamondbacks opened it up in the last 2 innings by scoring 3 runs to defeat the Cubs by the score of 6-2. I just mentioned. Lakina, as we get into the month of September, these are the pressure. Shout out Billy Joel for that song back in the early 80s. But this is pressure time. As we mentioned, the Milwaukee Brewers, we'll get to them in a second. They're not going away. The Cubs, you don't want them to just have their opportunity to take the division to go away. But this was a missed opportunity last night. But even though I believe this team is still okay, you really cannot give any games away. I think that Arizona was just a better team last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the first of seven games for them, for those two within the next couple of weeks. So, I mean, you don't want to you don't want to, you can't win all of them because that Diamondbacks team is actually pretty solid. But you at least want to try to win maybe four of the seven, maybe even five of the seven. That would be even better. You could kind of tell that the struggles last night. I mean, look, you can't win them all. I'm not going to dwell on it. And so
Mhm.
try to at least take, at least at the very, I would say at least like maybe like take 3 out of 4 in this series. Look, it's going to be
Mhm.
tough. I know that the Diamondbacks are still right there in the wild card, one of the wild card spots. So they've got a lot to play for still. So look, the Cubs got, I mean, the Diamondbacks got the best of them last night. So I'm not gonna like freak out too much about it. So you try to, like, you got game 2 coming up. You got James Italian. I mean, he's actually been okay. Okay, I know his last couple of starts haven't been very good, but he's actually been pretty solid against Zach Gallen. So should the bats need to get going for the Cubs. They need to kind of get things going and try to it's going to be a little bit cooler, so that might play a little bit of a factor.
Mhm.
It might play a little bit of a factor for the Diamondbacks. So if you're the Cubs, you want to try and take advantage.
Yes, and you mentioned James Italian. This is every start from now until the end of the regular season is big for him, as we mentioned throughout the whole season. He's been kind of hit and miss here and there until that start against the Yankees a couple months ago. Actually got his season turned around. And of course, he was dealing with
Mhm.
injuries as well early in the first couple months of the season. But every every start for him is big between now and the end of the regular season. So he needs to set the tone today. As we mentioned, the Cubs offense will be just fine despite what happened last night. And on the flip side, Zach Gallen, as you mentioned, he's 14-7 for the Diamondbacks. He's a sneaky good candidate for NL Cy Young award, but he's going to have to overtake Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves and, of course, Justin Steele here in Chicago for the Cubs. But Zach Gallen is very good, folks. He has a respectable ERA. And like you mentioned, with the weather and the rain that we had for the last few hours in the Chicagoland area, should this game get off today, which I think it will be played today. Like I said, the wind is not going to be blowing out, and the Cubs are going to have to. This looks like it's going to be one of those games that the Cubs have to find a way to manufacture some runs.
Yeah, they are gonna have to, and like I said, it's gonna be a little bit cooler, and it's good. It feels kind of more like early October than early September, so
Mm-hmm.
both teams are gonna have to adjust to it. So yeah, these are like long hitters, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that maybe if you're the Cubs, you want to try to at least win 3 out of 4, win these next 3. If nothing else, at least win 2 out of 3, so that way you can kind of have an even split because you got to go at Arizona next weekend. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens with that. Now, your Sox did salvage a win against the Royals. So, well, no, I mean, look, I'm not trying to be funny, but yeah, I mean, they actually, they could have been swept out of the water, but they did actually salvage a game. They're in Detroit right now. They'll play Detroit starting tonight, and as we're recording this, and you want to kind of keep it short and sweet with your Sox.
Yeah, I know Andrew Vaughn, Oscar Colas, and my brain is skipping on me because they're pissing me off right now. But they had 3 home runs the other night in their win over Kansas City. It's nice to start to see them play. Tucson actually did okay.
I was like, Tucson did good, yeah. I would say
Yeah,
Tucson did okay, yeah.
but am I going to bring him back for next year? No. I think this is only the second win and the first win in the Chris Getz era, so
Yep.
you can make for what it's worth. But I'm with you, Lakina. I'm waiting till the end of the season to conclude. We'll still have a few more weeks until that happens. But like we said before, the Sox got to have a lot of work to do. How much turnover we're going to see from this roster, we don't know, but we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's talk about what's went on in MLB these last couple of days. Jason Dominguez, I mean, he's still hitting the
Yes.
ball pretty well for the Yankees. I mean, he hit another home run last night. That's the third time his fifth career game. He's actually the youngest Yankee with 3 home runs in a 5 game span since Mickey Mantle all the way back in 1952. So a few bright spots for the Yankees so far, and also too, he's the second youngest player since 1900 to hit 3 home runs in his first 5 games. He trails only Manny Machado, who did it back in 2012. The Braves, unfortunately, they didn't have a good last couple of days. They're the 4th team in the last 90 seasons to allow 10 home runs in back-to-back games, including pitcher. I think he had like 8 home runs, during that time,
Mm-hmm.
during that game, and they're now 40 games over. So, I mean, the others to do that were the 2018 Red Sox, 1955, then Brooklyn Dodgers, and of course the 39 Yankees. But the good news for them, for Atlanta, is that the other three teams I mentioned all went on to win the World Series. So maybe this could be a good omen for the Braves. But a little bit. I'm not too worried about the Braves. The Braves fans should not be freaking out. I mean, look, it's a long season. You're in the dog days of summer. Finishing up. We got September, so I'm not. Braves fans should be, not freaking out about this.
Yeah, like I said, if you're an Atlanta fan, you shouldn't be too concerned. You just hope that your players are healthy enough and they're playing well enough going into the playoffs, because we've seen in the game of baseball, Lakina, in a lot of years, the teams that have the best record usually don't do well in the playoffs, i.e. last year's Dodgers, who had 111 wins before bowing out in the divisional round against the San Diego Padres. This Atlanta team, as we talked about all year, Lakina, they can hit. Ronald Acuna Jr. should be your National League MVP. Of course, you have first baseman Matt Olson, who's been smashing the ball. Of course, you have Austin Riley. Like I said, Spencer Strider heads the top of that rotation for Atlanta. So they have a pretty good young squad. And remember, they won the World Series a couple of years ago. So many of those guys that were still on that team a couple of years ago, they're still on the team now. Of course, don't forget about my guy, Ozzie Obley's at second base. So they got the talent to do it. It's just that I think the National League is going to be a little bit tougher than what people think. Yes, I know it's the Braves and everybody else, but anything can happen in baseball come October.
Especially within their own division, especially the Phillies are still right there in the wild card chase. We'll talk about the Brewers in a second, but yeah, I mean, look, they did salvage that series, that a win against St. Louis yesterday, so they were able to kind of stop the bleeding there. But yeah, I mean, look, these things happen during the season, so especially they're still at 14, and I'm sure they're going to clinch number one seed in NL. So I don't think they'll be too worried about that. Now the Brewers, the Cubs, as we're recording, are now still 2 games back in the NL Central because they lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. Thank you, Pittsburgh. So yeah, they started a series against the Yankees. I'm sure Yankees would love to play spoiler, even though they're not having a good year. I know the Brewers, like I said, Brewers not going to run away with this. I mean, the Cubs are still going to be fighting it, going to be right there. So if the Cubs take care of their business, they got a few weeks before they play again. So just take care of your business and hopefully the Brewers can get a little help with as far as the Brewers are concerned.
Yeah, if you're the Cubs, just take care of your business and everything else will fall into place. And as we said on our show on Wednesday, well, with it being September now, in the last month of the regular season, if you're a contending team, you have teams that are sub 500 on your schedule. Do not take them lightly because it could come back and bite you in the butt as far as your playoff seedings or perhaps making the playoffs at all. They're not. As you mentioned, the Milwaukee Brewers found that out earlier this week. And so if you're the Cubs or anybody else who are in contention, you got to treat those teams like they are above 500 teams. Because let's be honest here, those sub 500 teams do not have anything to play for in terms of playoff positioning, but they're playing for jobs next year and they're playing for pride. So you got to match their intensity and don't expect to cakewalk your way through a victory. You got to go out and match their energy.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, Houston, I know one of our buddy Brandon's out listening or watching us on YouTube right now. Of course, his Astros swept the Rangers and both hitting double-digit runs in all 3 games. 12-3, 14-1, and 13-6. So, I mean, I think they hit 5 home runs during those games. I think that's like one of the tops to do that. It's one of the few teams to ever do that. So, yeah, they're starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, I think you could say goodbye to the Texas Rangers as far as winning the AL West. I know Adolis Garcia, I believe, was injured the other night. We mentioned on our last show on Wednesday that Doug Stanton, the setup man in that Astros bullpen, he was hurt on Monday. We don't know how long he's going to be out. He's going to be out for a while, but that's going to put a slight dent into that Astros bullpen. But the Rangers have been having injury issues for the last month or so. We mentioned about Nathan Eovaldi, their top starter for the Rangers. He pitched the other night and did not look good. I know Dane Dunning's still holding it down over there, the former White Sox pitcher. He looks better in the Sox uniform than Lance Lynn, who was traded for, but that's a whole nother story. But the only way the Rangers can make the playoffs, in my opinion, is obviously the wild card. Of course, that race is bunched up with Tampa Bay, Boston, and Toronto. So the Rangers will have an uphill battle. And Max Scherzer, who pitched the series finale on Wednesday, he did not look good either, giving us 7 runs.
Yeah, he did not look good at all. So, it's going to be interesting there, too, with the Astros and see if maybe the Rangers can try to kind of get into it. I know that they're still as we're recording, they're still like 3 back, and I think they're still right there in the wild card chase as well. But yeah, they're gonna have to get it together because it's not looking good, especially with this sweep against Houston. So should be interesting there. So anything else before we do the schedule?
Real quickly, Kina, going back to the Yankees, I know they're in the softest part of their schedule right now. Do you believe they can make a realistic run in the playoffs? I say no because you have too many teams to jump over.
Yeah, I think this is where they got to where I think what 5 teams in that wild card spot, maybe
Mm-hmm.
6 teams in order to get it. I mean they could make things interesting. I mean they're like think they're what? Let me get up here real quick. They're 7 games back in that last spot, and they got to jump over Boston, Texas, and of course Toronto's too. And I know they played Toronto a few times before the season's out, so there could I mean, they're trying. You know, I think they've done too big of a hole for themselves, but you never know. I mean, I know that Aaron Judge is back. He's been hitting the ball well. We know Stan's been hitting the ball well. Their pitch has actually been pretty good. So could they make things interesting? Sure, but I don't think it'll be enough for them to get into the wild card. I just don't. I don't think they have the games left to do that. But we'll see.
Yep. Let's go into the schedule for this weekend's action. Remember, no Fox Saturday baseball because of college football coverage on Fox. We'll start out with the schedule for tonight. Of course, this is the series that will be played tonight through Sunday. Of course, the Chicago White Sox will visit Detroit in Motown and Comerica Park. We have the Diamondbacks and the Cubs resuming their 4-game weekend series from the friendly confines. We have Lakina Seattle Mariners visiting Tampa Bay. Of course, Seattle won last night with the series opener 1-0. St. Louis is at Cincinnati. Big series for Cincinnati. The LA Dodgers, who almost pulled off a no-hitter yesterday in Florida against the Marlins.
Just missed it, yeah.
Yeah, they'll play in our nation's capital against the Washington Nationals. The Miami Marlins against the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a big series for the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee Brewers will face the New York Yankees in New Yankee Stadium. Kansas City at Toronto. Baltimore at Boston. Big series there for the Red Sox. Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Oakland at Texas. The Mets at the Twins. San Diego at Houston. Cleveland at the LA Angels. And the Colorado Rockies visit the San Francisco Giants.
San Francisco really needs to try at least keep pace because I think they've lost 6 in a row. So
yeah, they got swept in Chicago by the Cubs.
Yes, they did. Your Apple TV Plus games for tonight, you got St. Louis and Cincinnati. That's at 5:40, and Houston hosting San Diego. That's another game. That's the second game of the Apple TV Plus. So those of you in those areas will have to stream it on Apple TV Plus. And like I said no Fox game, but FS1 will have the 3rd game of the Mariners and the Rays at 3:05 tomorrow. And your ESPN Sunday night game of the week will be the Rockies and the Giants. So I think the Giants really need this series. Hopefully, they can sweep the Rockies because they really need to keep pace in the NL wild card, I should say.
All right, and that's your baseball schedule for this upcoming weekend. All right, Lakina, we're gonna get to our football power 90-minute extravaganza. Up next, we'll preview the top games for this week 2 in the world of college football. Can Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, get it done in this home opener against Nebraska? Southern Illinois and Northern Illinois will face off against each other tomorrow. The Fighting Illini will travel to Kansas to take on the Jayhawks tonight. Can they pull off a mini upset? And Texas and Alabama will do battle tomorrow as well. That and a whole lot more as we preview the week in college football for week 2. You listen to #Football Friday right here on Second City Sports. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. This is Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keita Scrum again, the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes or so left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, sis. So let's get to week 2. Let's kick off our Football Friday, 90-minute mega Football Friday, I guess. That's how we're going to do it for the rest of the season, especially for this fall anyway. Just want to get a quick recap. 56-0 win for Louisville over Murray State. I think this is the last time I think they shut out a team at home like that. It was Murray State all the way back in 1990. So, sort of like a little bit count there. But Indiana State of Indiana, that's going to be on the Big Ten Network tonight at 6. And
let me pause real quickly, Keena. I'm sorry for being unprofessional, but taking a look at the numbers from Louisville's game last night, I see Jake Plummer here, 247 yards, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown. Is that Jake Plummer, the former NFL quarterback's son?
I don't think so. I gotta look that up real quick. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'll see. But
he looks just like his dad, but this is me.
He might be. He might be. I don't know. I gotta look that up real quick.
Okay.
I'll probably look that up as we're doing this. But yeah, I mean that was I'll say he was really good. I didn't watch too much of it because it was a blowout by. It was on AC there, so it was a blowout by like the third, the second quarter. So I didn't watch too much about that. But yeah, I'll look that up real quick. But Indiana State, Indiana, that's gonna be a Big Ten Network tonight, and also too should be a sneaky good one here on ESPN too at 6:30. You got Kansas hosting Illinois, and Jade Daniels, of course, talented quarterback for Kansas, is going to play. I know he has, I guess, some like hamstring issues. So, but he has been cleared to play. Illinois coming off that close win against Toledo. Kansas, no trouble with Montana State. So, what do you think about this game tonight?
I know Kansas is favored by 3.5. The over/under total is 56.5. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Of course, you mentioned for Kansas, Jason Bean had 276 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Also, watch out for their stud running back, Devin Neal. He had 13 carries for 94 yards in the score last week. And their stud wide receiver, Lawrence Arnold, had 4 catches for 77 yards. So we talk about the Illini's defense stepping up in that second half last week, looking as they got their scare from Toledo, which led to their game-winning field goal at the end there. But even though I think Illinois should win this game, I think they're going to lose this game. I think Kansas has too much of more of an offensive threat than Illinois is. I know they have Ashcroft talking about as the starting quarterback for Illinois. I think he's going to improve as the season goes along, but I don't know if he can stand up to an offensive shootout tonight against this Kansas team. I'm not making this Kansas team like they're a national powerhouse or anything like that, but I think that offense, those offensive threats that I just mentioned for the Jayhawks, I think it's going to be too much for this young Illinois defense to handle.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is actually pretty solid, too, for Kansas. So I think they may give Illinois fits. So we'll see. But it should be a good one. But, yeah, I mean, look, David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, and that place is going to be rocking. Usually you'll see that for a football game. But Lance Leopold has done a great job with that football program. So they've been, really solid. So, and also, too, a quick note, Jack is not related to Jake Plummer. I'm sure he probably gets asked that a lot, too. But I'm like, look, as far as I know.
I'm the 1,000th person that did that.
But look, I think that they could be related in some weird way. I mean, look, we've seen weird things. Maybe not his fault. Maybe like a distant cousin or something. Who knows? But we've seen weird things happen. Where's Dr. Henry Louis Gates from finding your roots when you need them?
Exactly.
Maybe you should give him a call too. It's hilarious. But back on topic here, going into tomorrow's matchup, Saturday. You got Georgia hosting Ball State. That's going to be at 11 a.m. on the SEC network. Ohio State hoping to get that, maybe be a little bit better against Youngstown State at 11 a.m. on BTN. And Peacock will be streaming this game. We got Delaware and Penn State, number 7 Penn State. Notre Dame and NC State, that'll be the 11 a.m. game on ABC. NC State, I mean, look, I'm not going to say this is going to be a trap game for Notre Dame, but NC State got some pretty solid, good team as well. And I think, this might be the first big test for Marcus Freeman and his Irish squad.
Excuse me, that's my throat's trying to throw me off course here, but I think Vegas will agree with you, Lakina. Notre Dame is favored by 7.5 on the road. The over on the total is 50. You mentioned about Notre Dame basically cruising within their first 2 games of the year. A couple of weeks ago, winning overseas, and then, of course, last week, having no trouble at home. I think this is going to be tough because this will be their first road game on U.S. soil for the year. And so they don't have to travel as much as they did a couple weeks ago across the pond. But I think this could be a little bit closer than what people expect. So expect for Notre Dame to keep that ball on the ground with Audric Estimate. Right now he has 2 touchdowns on the year with off of 211 yards of rushing. And Jaden Thomas, expect him to have a big game for the Fighting Irish. That star wide receiver has 8 catches for 125 yards and a touchdown so far this year.
Yeah, but I like how Brennan Armstrong, he's a QB for North Carolina State, throws the ball. So again, we'll see how this test goes. Like you said, I mean, look, that place in Raleigh, that place is going to be like packed. They're really literally on top of you at Carter Finley Stadium. So the place is going to be rocking on tomorrow. So you can check that game out at 11 a.m. on ABC. Same time on ESPN, you got Utah fresh off a bye. They go to Waco to face Baylor. And look, I mean, Utah looked really good against Florida. We'll see. I mean, Florida. That's a whole other topic. But this is only their second meeting. I'm talking about them and Baylor. So it should be interesting down there in Waco. Yeah,
and Baylor, like you said, lost last week. I don't think it's going to be a good situation for Utah, but Utah, I think they're the better team. I think they should win this game. I'm not going to say comfortably, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher than what people give it credit for. I want to talk about this next game, which I'll be watching in its entirety tomorrow, Saturday, on Big News Saturday on Fox at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Coach Prime, will have his home debut as the Colorado Buffaloes, ranked number 22 in the country. They'll host the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They're 0-1. Of course, Colorado is 1-0. They beat TCU on the road last week. Lakina, I think it's safe to say that Shedeur Sanders is not going to throw for 500 yards again. Me personally, I want him to, but I'm just being realistic here. I don't think he's going to go for 500 yards again. I think he's going to go throw close to 300 yards. And I think Colorado is going to establish that running game a little bit more. They didn't have a chance to do that last week. That Colorado defense must show up. I know they had that one key stop at the end there, even though they gave up 42 points. But I'm looking for the running game for the Buffaloes in that Colorado defense to establish themselves against Nebraska.
I'm getting old like Big 12 vibes here with the Nebraska and Colorado. They haven't played. I think it's more like about a decade since Nebraska left for the Big Ten. But I mean, look, this could be like one of those games where I know Nebraska wants to get that taste of that loss against Minnesota out of their mouth. They've had like over a week to think about it. Jeff Sims, I mean, had like 3 interceptions. I'm sure he wants to kind of redeem himself with that. So we'll see what happens. And if you're Nebraska, I think you want to try. If you're Matt Rule, of course, you remember he's over there now. I'm sure you would try to run the ball down Colorado's throats. I mean, you've got some people. You got Anthony Grant, and Jeff says, of course, he can run the ball too as well as throw it pretty well. Our buddy Dave Repson from the Big Ten Network talked about that a couple weeks ago he was on with us. So this could be one of those games where you're like, okay, we'll see if Colorado is for real. So this could be a barn burner as it usually is when these two teams match up. I remember watching a lot of those games back in the day in the Big 12. So this could be the same here tomorrow.
Yeah, Colorado is a 3-point home favorite, and the over/under total is 59.
All right. Delaware State and Army, our buddy Randy Cross from CBS Sports Network will be doing that game. Purdue, again, another team that wants to get that loss against Fresno State out of their mouths. They'll face Virginia Tech on ESPN at 11 a.m. Same thing with Boston College. I'm sure they should be okay with Holy Cross, I think. Same thing with Virginia and James Madison as well. So I don't think they're going to be too worried about that. Clemson, hoping to get that taste from that bad taste against Duke. You're off a short weekday. Host Charleston Southern. That's going to be the second game, the ACC network quadruple header.
Yeah, Dabble Sweeney will let all the dogs out for that one.
Could be 70. Who knows?
All right, let's go to the 2:30 slot of games here on the schedule. Of course, on CBS, we'll have UNLV. They're 1-0. They'll travel to the Big House to take on number 2 Michigan. They check in at 1-0. J.J. McCarthy, the starting quarterback of Michigan, he has 3 touchdowns so far in the first game of the season. Of course, they won last week at home. Lakina, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know too much about UNLV, but I think they're in trouble against Michigan tomorrow. The Michigan is favored by 37.5 at home.
Yeah. I mean, UNLV. I mean, they're okay. They're not great. So they've been kind of like middle of the road in the Mountain West the last few years. So Michigan shouldn't have any trouble. I wonder who's going to be coaching that game. Of course, they're doing the whole like coach by committee with Jim Harbaugh's service.
I was going to say it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, they shouldn't really have any trouble. I mean, I'm sure they're going to make sure that not to look too far ahead. You have to get 1 week at a time. So I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy has a solid showing. If Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards will have a good showing tomorrow. So Michigan shouldn't have any trouble with UNLV. Now, this should be a sneaky good one here at the same time on ESPN2. You got Ole Miss and Tulane, both Ole Miss at number 20, Tulane number 24. So this should be a very interesting game. Tulane's been kind of like on the up and up the last couple of years. We know Ole Miss, how good they are. So, it's going to be very interesting to see who established the run. Could this be, Jackson Dart, of course, very solid quarterback for UNLV, and but also to Michael Pratt from Tulane. He's no slouch either. I think he's a kind of a young, older junior. So this could be another barn burner here.
Yeah, I think Vegas agrees with you. The over on the total for this game is 66.5, and Ole Miss is favored by 7 points on the road. So we'll see what happens there. Shout out to our guy, Jason Palmer, our cohorts here at Sports Zone Chicago. He'll be traveling to Miami for this game. Have a safe flight, my man. Hopefully he's listening to this. At 2:30 p.m. on ABC, we'll have number 23 Texas A&M. The Aggies will travel to South Beach, Florida to take on the 1-0 the University of Miami Hurricanes. Lakina, I think it's all about the running game with Harry Perry Jr. for this one for the Hurricanes. So far, even though it's been one game this year, he had 9 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown last week.
Yeah, he did, and it was a solid, sort of like a solid showing there. But Connor Weedman, I mean, that's gonna be look. He's only a sophomore. He threw for 5 touchdowns. I know that. Well, look, I get it. I know people. I think that's like a record for like a opening for a starter in his first game. Yeah, I know, but the Miami should be a little bit better this year. I know Manny Diaz has been recruiting hard and whatnot, so.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see where this goes, but yeah, I mean, it should be a fun one down there at Hard Rock Stadium down in Miami. But Jason should go. I think he'll have a very entertaining game to watch tonight, so should be very interesting.
Also, at the same time tomorrow on Fox 2:30, the Battle of the state of Iowa is the Iowa Hawkeyes at 1-0 travel to KXRB Stadium to take on the 1-0 Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa is a 3.5-point favorite, and the over-under total is 36.5. Of course, we talked about Iowa scoring some points this year, Lakina. Mm-hmm. They did that last week in a 34-24 win over Southern Utah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting because there's always interesting between those two teams play. I know Iowa State, I think, wants to get that, this they've been back and forth the last few years. I mean, each team has won on each other's, at home. So it should be very interesting in this game. And I mean, look, Iowa State is no slouch, although they are supposed to be going through a kind of quote unquote rebuild this year. So, but they always are up for this game. So that KXRB Stadium should be rocking down there. It's I'm sure they're gonna want those state bragging rights for the rest of the year. So it should be fun as usual between these two teams. Michigan State hosting Richmond. That'll be at BTN. Also at the same time, Northwestern hosting UTEP. Some people already say that UTEP might. I know Dave Braun said that he wants Northwestern folks to show up. Does he know what school he's going? Does he know what school he's coaching? Does he know what school he's coaching or where he's at? You might see more UTEP fans. Just saying.
As Hall & Notes said in 1986, you're out of touch. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Exactly.
You're out of time. Moving on.
Okay, careful. You can't pay. You can't pay royalties. You can want his royalties. Jared Hall wants his royalties, and John knows they want their royalties. So don't sing anymore. Syracuse, we're gonna call the Fighting Dave Kerners. We're gonna talk to we're going to call them that. They host Western Michigan. Go ESPN Plus and ACC Extra. Let's see. Northern Illinois hosts in Southern Illinois, so this should be interesting. That'll be on ESPN Plus, unfortunately, but I'm sure you can stream it somewhere. I'm sure, but yeah, this should be a fun one. This should be a fun one down there in DeKalb.
Yeah, Northern Illinois coming off that upset win. If it wasn't for Colorado over TCU, this probably would have been the number one story in college football last week. Of course, Northern Illinois upset Boston College on the East Coast last week, 27-24. For NIU, Gavin Williams had 15 carries for 61 yards last week. But I think for Northern Illinois, they got to score some points here. They had their opportunities in the second half to put it away, but they didn't. But they got the job done when they did in overtime. So all the fans up there in Husky Stadium in DeKalb, they're going to be excited. They're going to be fired up. But hopefully NIU can take advantage of that.
Southern Illinois got a pretty solid squad, too. I mean, they've been to the playoffs in the FCS the last few years, so this could be a trap game for Northern. I mean, look, Southern, they've been very solid, too. So, yeah, this should be a fun one down there between the directional schools in Illinois. 4 o'clock, Washington should have no trouble with Tulsa. They host Tulsa in Seattle at Husky Stadium. Tennessee State, they with Austin Peay, hosting Austin Peay. North Carolina, they're coming off a short week. That's the AC Network matchup at Appalachian State. Against Appalachian State, I should say. So that should be a fun one there. And we know Appalachian State is going to put off upsets on the road. We've seen them do that. So, that this could. I know Mac Brown will make sure his team doesn't look ahead. So this should be a fun one. Should be a fun one down there and over at Chapel Hill.
You're listening to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Real life and living color. Sid Lakini here with you. Previewing the week 2 matchups and the key matchups in college football as we continue at 5 o'clock Chicago time on ESPN Plus as starting into the prime time schedule. SMU at 1-0 will visit number 18 Oklahoma. They're also 1-0 on the year at Norman, Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium. Also, the Duke Blue Devils, now ranked number 21 in the country after upsetting Clemson on Monday. They'll host Lafayette. That's at 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus, ACC Network Extra. And as we get into the primetime schedules here, don't forget at 5:30 on the CW Network. Remember, Bally Sports used to broadcast the ACC on cable. 90 more. Check your local listening, as we say in the business, for the game and time in your area. I know locally here in Chicago, this game will be seen on WGN TV Channel 9. That's 1-0 Cincinnati Bearcats as they travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Pitt Panthers. They're also checking at 1-0. That's tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. on the CW network, locally on Channel 9 here in Chicago.
WCIU actually.
No, it's on WGN.
Oh, it is. Wait, no,
Yes.
because I saw because I saw the scheduling. Because remember the Next Star thing is still going on. That's why they put the CW with WCIU. So
Yeah, but it's on GN tomorrow. I just checked it.
Wait, I just checked it too. Hold on, let me see. Because it's not WCIU what I have. So
okay.
maybe let's say, but yeah, I think that's. But you can still, for those of you who have Nexstar and who have the CW, you still can't watch it. There are ways you can stream it. So find ways you can stream it on various places. But this should be a fun one there with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. So should be a good one regardless. But the big game here, Sid, Texas and Alabama. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. So I mean, look, these two teams have played each other before. They haven't played in a minute, so I know both Nick Saban and Steve Sarkisian are both kind of like keeping it very sort of like quiet and quite, very close to the vest. I know Quentin Ewers, he had a really great showing last week. Jalen Milroe, I should say, who is the true sophomore QB. Look good so far this week for performance. But I think that for me, the key is going to be the defenses. I mean, for me, I think both defenses will see like which one, because both defenses, I mean, the rushing yards, I mean, that it could be on the ground. I mean, it's going to be very interesting because both these defenses have been really good. They kept their respective opponents under 100 yards. But again, they were playing, I don't want to say not so good opponents. So this could be the really true test for those defenses, I think.
Don't forget, these two teams played down there in Longhorn Stadium last year. Alabama barely escaped with the win. Texas hung in there tough, so Texas will be motivated by that. Alabama's favored by 7 at home. I think Texas will learn from that, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to pull off an upset on the road. But Texas needs a big game out of Xavier Worthy, their star wide receiver. He has 7 catches for over 90 yards so far this season, even though it's just one game. Jaden Blue had 10 carries for 55 yards. So Texas obviously needs someone to step up on the offensive end. As you mentioned, the two defenses are going to be locked in for the entire 60 minutes.
Yeah, and I think Texas, they had a couple of chances to pull out that game too against Alabama, and unfortunately Bama pulled away late. So I'm sure a lot of those guys remember that. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, same time on the Big Fox, Oregon and Texas. Texas Tech wants to kind of rebound from that loss to Wyoming. So we'll see if Oregon, I think they better watch out, because I'm sure the folks down there in Lubbock, they know their football. I know that place is going to be rocking down there at Jones AT&T Stadium. So Jerry Jones, of course, that's alma mater, Texas Tech. So that should be a fun one.
Yeah, so FS1 at 6 o'clock tomorrow. UCF, the University of Central Florida. They'll go to the West Coast to take on the Boise State Broncos. They're 0-1 on the year. At the same time on NFL Network, 1-0 Houston Cougars will play Rice. They're 0-1. And also on ESPN Plus at 6 o'clock, we'll have 1-0 Memphis versus Arkansas State. There are 0-1. And at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus in the SEC Network Plus, Grambling will travel to LSU to take on the 14th-ranked Tigers. So Brian Kelly, he's going to release some anger on the HBCU, unfortunately, tomorrow.
I'm sure he'll apologize to afterwards. I'm sure.
Yeah.
The ABC matchup, he got Wisconsin at Wazoo, Washington State. This should be a fun matchup. We'll see how Luke Fickell's area attack goes up against that Wazoo defense. So should be a fun one. I know that's gonna be. I know Pullman, Washington. Those folks, they know their football, so that place is going to be rocking tomorrow. So that should be a good one here on
shout out girl Kayla Anderson in Nashville. Yeah. She had a picture up on her Twitter this morning.
I saw that. Yeah, I know she's ready for this matchup. So I know they're going to want to take it out on Wisconsin for the Big Ten. So just for the Pac-12. So that should be funny. NBC, the primetime game there, Maryland, they host Charlotte. That should be a good matchup. Minnesota against Eastern Michigan. That's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Also, at the same time, Rutgers and Temple on the Big Ten Network. I'm getting like 8-10 vibes from this matchup.
At 6:30 p.m. on CBS, we'll have 1-0 UCLA. They'll travel to San Diego State to take on the Aztecs. San Diego State, they're 2-0 on the year. And we have a couple more games to pass along to before we check up out of here for this segment. At 9:30 p.m. on Fox, we'll have 1-0 Stanford. The Cardinal will travel to Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum to take on the 6th-ranked USC Trojans. So you get to watch Caleb Williams before you go to bed on tomorrow night. So I know Lakina will be up for that one. And at the same time on ESPN, Auburn 1-0. They'll travel to California Memorial Stadium to take on the 1-0 California Golden Bears.
Also, to finish up, we got Oklahoma State. At the same time, Oklahoma State and Arizona State, of course. Arizona State, no bowl for them this year. The bowl ban, of course, with all the stuff that happened during Herb Edwards' tenure there. Oklahoma State, they look good in their first game. So should be a fun one here down at Sun Devil at Mountain America Stadium in Tempe. So yeah, some really good matchups coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, real quick, Lakina, before we break, I know we're up against it, but how many touchdown passes do you think Caleb Williams will throw tomorrow?
Stanford has not been very good lately, so I'm sure he'll probably still throw about 4 or 5. I know that Stanford has improved a little bit this year, but they're not the Stanford that we saw with during the Davis Shaw era. They're still trying to find their way. So, but it should be interesting though, nonetheless. But I think he'll throw for 5. I think 4 and 5. I believe, and we'll see if the defense actually looked really good last week. So we'll see.
All right, I'll say 4 touchdowns. So we'll see what happens with that contest tomorrow night. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as #Football Friday continues on Second City Sports, as we'll welcome in Taylor Dahl of the Windy City Gridiron and our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, with our NFL picks. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. You're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Hashtag Football Friday, our season premiere for the 2023 NFL season. You're listening to Sports on Chicago. We're live in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and at Keenan's again, the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments regarding this Sunday's Bears-Packers matchup in Week 1 in America's Game of the Week, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, especially for our next guest. The best questions or comments that come across to us, Lakina will put them up on the screen for you. Lakina, as we said, one of our goals for this year is to bring on new people to give us and our listeners and viewers a different perspective. We're continuing with that tradition by bringing on the host of the Making Monsters podcast on Windy City Gridiron, part of the SB Nation Network, and she's the co-host of the Helmets and Heels podcast for 1010XL and 92.5 FM, Jacksonville's #1 sports radio station down there in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's please welcome to our program, Miss Taylor Dahl. Taylor, welcome to our show. How are you?
Hi. Hello. Thanks, guys. That was a great introduction.
Yeah, how you doing down there in South Florida? Are you holding up okay?
I am good. We're actually very North Florida, but
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We're pretty much South Georgia. But yeah, we're good. Everyone's excited here for Jaguars football like we are for the Bears football. So I'm ready to get going.
Yeah, before we break down the Week 1 matchup against the Green Bay Packers, I want to get your take about the roster overall this year. Of course, everything starts and ends with quarterback Justin Fields, but the number one question that many Bears fans have, including yours truly, is that offensive line. Of course, the Bears have been struggling with injuries, guys in and out of the lineup through the preseason and training camp. What's your level of concern about the offensive line's health going into Sunday's game?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned a little bit. If you would have asked me probably a month ago, I was very confident in the offensive line, but I think a major part of that is Tevin Jenkins. And Tevin Jenkins, I think, is just one of those guys who really does upgrade the offensive line with just his play alone. So to not have him in this game, and also probably for 4 weeks minimum, is not ideal because I do think he's kind of like the anchor that holds a lot of it together. And so that worries me. And then so when you look outside of that, Braxton Jones, you're really expecting Braxton Jones to make that next step up and the year 2 leap, which I do think he will improve. But we saw issues last year against the bull rush and other factors with Braxton. So you're hoping that that's something that he's worked on this offseason, which I'm sure they have. But how much will that be improved right out of the gate? I'm not sure. It may take a little time for him to really fully solidify that spot at left tackle. And then you're looking over at a rookie right tackle and Darnell Wright. I'm very confident Darnell Wright is going to be a franchise and solid piece of the Bears offensive line. But when you're coming out of college, it does take it's a little bit adjustment period when you're getting used to the NFL speed and NFL guys that are coming off both ends. Darnell Wright is going to have some big tests pretty much right away, but throughout the season in general when it comes on that side of the line. And then next to him, Nate Davis, a veteran who I was super confident in when they got him, when they first signed him. I thought it was a good addition, but he hasn't really practiced almost at all this whole offseason. And then even this week, we're seeing he's not practicing due to personal reasons. Obviously, I hope everything's okay. First and foremost, that's one of the situations where you want the guys to be on the field, but you also want them to take care of themselves and their families or whatever may happen. And we don't really know what that situation is. But with Darnell Wright, rookie, and Nate Davis, not really much practice with this team in front of Justin Fields. They've been switching around Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair. We've seen Cody Whitehair be able to succeed here and there in flashes. A few seasons ago, it looked like Whitehair was going to be a really, really good player. And since then, due to injuries and other factors, it hasn't really stood out that way. So it'll be interesting to me to see that. Lucas Patrick, another guy dealing with a lot of injuries since he's came to Chicago. So there's just a lot of question marks from left to right on the offensive line, and that it concerns me. But I do think that they will be better than they were last season.
let's talk about the defense for a second, Taylor, because I think we saw a lot of the improvement, of course. Tremaine Edmonds. Of course, we'll see if Jack Sanborn can kind of keep it going like he did for early parts of last year. Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson's coming back from injury. Yannick Yolier is back. He hasn't played a lot this preseason. So, what do you think? Where do you think the defense could stack up with some of the set up to kind of like the offenses of some of these other teams?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the defensive line. Beyond that, I'm pretty confident. When we look at the linebackers, I personally think that the linebackers, it may take a little adjustment period, like I said, because Jack Sanborn is coming off injury from last season. He is just in his year 2. He was an undrafted guy, so those guys do take a little bit to catch up, but it didn't look like he was very far behind last year in the glimpses that we did see. And then I think TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds are massive improvements as a general. And I know we lost Roquan, and that's a major piece, but if you're replacing them with anybody, I think Tremaine Edmonds is an ideal piece to do that, because I do think Tremaine fits Eberflus's defense way better than Roquan fit Eberflus's defense. And so I think the combination of those three and what Flus and Alan Williams do with that defense is going to be really fun to watch. So I'm very confident in the linebacker group, and I'm honestly very confident with the secondary. I think that we're going to see Kyler Gordon make a big step up. We saw it towards the end of last season. He was the last 3, 4, 5 weeks of last season, you were seeing just game by game improvement from Kyler Gordon and in every aspect of his game. And then I think that you're going to have a healthy Jalen Johnson and a healthy Eddie Jackson. That right there already is an improvement from what we were able to see later in the season because of injuries and because of other things that were kind of happening on the defense. And then I think most people at this point, most Bears fans are big fans of Jaquan Brisker. He showed out last season, and I don't see that slowing down whatsoever. And they added a couple pieces. Obviously, Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Lewis both kind of battled throughout camp. And what looked to be kind of Tyreek Stevenson was going to be that outside corner. They were going to move Kyler Gordon on the inside. Terrell kind of gave him a run for his money, and they battled there at that spot. So that's going to be fun to even watch them kind of go through the season and see who really grasped that outside corner position. So that I'm super confident in that. Again, the defensive line and what worries me a little bit. Yannick is already going to add pressure. He's going to get to the quarterback. That's what Jan does, but Jan does not stop the run. So there's concern there because the Bears were last against the run last season, and that's a major concern. You're just hoping that maybe the rotational pieces that they have added with DeMarcus Walker and obviously Billings, those couple pieces, you just hope do enough to solidify the interior enough. I know technically Walker's on the edge, but Walker had every sack he had last season on the interior. So I definitely see Flus sliding him in sometimes. So I think it's just kind of how confident are they in those rotational pieces? How much are each of these guys getting to be on the field? And can they play a little bit can they play closer to their ceiling? If they can play closer to their ceiling and glimpses that they all kind of had moments in their career, then that will take a lot of pressure off of the linebackers and the secondary for them to even be better than what we expect. So I'm concerned a little bit up front. I do think it's an improvement, but that's not saying much because last year it was really concerning, especially towards the end of the season.
Listen to drop that knowledge already. We just getting started. We love it. we're on the line with our good friend, Miss Taylor Dahl, host of the Mega Monsters podcast and the Hamlets and Hills podcast, right here on the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. Taylor, you stole my question about the secondary. I like Tyrese Stevenson as well. I think that was a good pick by Ryan Poles, the GM in the second round. But let's shift over to back to the offense and DJ Moore. Of course, I think he's going to have a breakout year because he actually has a quarterback that he has in his hip pocket. But talk to us about Darnell Mooney and what do you expect out of Chase Claypool? Because I'm not getting good vibes from him right now. And of course, he's a free agent at the end of the year. But what do you expect out of the rest of the wide receiving core?
Yeah, I think the wide receivers, I mentioned the linebackers, me being very high on. The wide receivers are probably around the same realm for me as in confidence level outside of Justin Fields. If I were to pick position groups, those two are the ones that I'm most confident in. I think automatically DJ Moore just takes a little bit of pressure off of Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. And I spoke on a lot on this in this offseason. I'm also a Notre Dame fan, so I've been following around with Chase Claypool for beyond.
Oh boy.
So he's a good football player. I just think that in Pittsburgh they didn't use Claypool the way that Claypool needed to be used, and so that kind of hurt him there. And then he kind of got the short end of the stick when he came to Chicago last year, in my opinion, because he got thrown into an offense of what I have heard. Luke Getsy's offense is not an easy playbook to learn, and he kind of got thrown into that really quickly and was like, "Hey, learn this on a whim." And once you felt like maybe he could have started really picking up on some things and getting comfortable, Darnell Mooney went out. And so he goes from being a guy who should have probably been a 2-3 wide receiver into having to be kind of the number one guy. And that's not what he is. Claypool will not be your number one wide receiver, but I think he can be a very good 3, which is what it looks like he should be on this Bears offense. As Darnell Mooney, you're expecting to take that wide receiver 2 spot. DJ Moore at 1, which DJ Moore obviously is the best number 1 we've had in a while. And that comes to almost every statistic you can name when it comes to wide receivers. And we saw it in the preseason, the little glimpses we saw already of what DJ Moore is able to do, not only actually catch the ball, which we didn't see a lot of last season. He also those yards after catch are so incredibly important. And the Bears were dead last in YAC last season. So to have somebody who can already get those extra yards and not put so much pressure on Justin Fields every single time, I think is really important. So I'm expecting this wide receiver group to be very fun. Obviously, you hope everyone can stay healthy because that was issue they had last season. But I just think that the way to solidify having DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, and then you have guys like Equinemius who can block, who are some of the best blocking wide receivers in the league. And then that we didn't even talk about Cole Kmet, who I do think that last year he led the team with yardage, which isn't exactly a gloat because there wasn't anybody else really to compete with. But I think Cole Kmet can be that guy, and now he has even a little bit more help in the tight end room. So with Robert Tonyan, I think it's going to be fun. I think it could be a pretty fun offense to watch for the first time in a while.
Just want a little bit of an update here. Nate Davis was a full participant today, so so he's all clear for Sunday. So everyone else, the only person that practiced was Dylan Cole. He was limited, and he is questionable. So good news there on the Nate Davis front. Now let's talk about the Packers for a second, because Jordan Love, of course, it's his team now. They're kind of going all in on him, but you still got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Those guys are still around. I know Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are questionable because they both are battling hammies. There's no way that Love can kind of pick up where Aaron Rodgers left off. Is there? There's no way, right?
I want to immediately say no, because it's just that they've gotten very lucky, and we joke about it, how they've had back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but really the likeliness of that happening is super slim. I'm not confident Jordan Love is going to be a bad quarterback like some Bears fans maybe are thinking. I just personally have not seen enough of Jordan Love to say whether he's going to be good or bad. I think he'll be all right, but on that scale, I don't quite know yet where on the scale of good is he. Like, is he just all right? Is he a game manager type of quarterback where we see guys just like when he'll be sufficient, or is he going to be a little higher in that good ranking and be able to win a little bit more games than maybe some Bears are expecting? But I do not see him being like another Hall of Fame quarterback. I think that decisions would have been made before this year if they really were seeing that at some point. I think he had the ideal situation sitting behind Aaron Rodgers during these years and learning from Rodgers and really watching this Packers offense, but he is getting thrown into a very young offense. Obviously, you just mentioned both Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, both in their second season. So that's young. Their tight end, Luke Musgrove, just got drafted, so he's young. I do think it's going to be an offense heavily focused around Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon in the run game in general. So to me, that's just like Bears game plan. Stop Aaron Jones this week, pressure Jordan Love, and I think you have a winning recipe.
See, I guess we're thinking in the same avenue, Taylor, because that was the next question I was going to ask you about how to stop the Green Bay Packers. But she beat me to the punch, but we love it. We love it. We're halfway home with our new homegirl, Taylor Dahl of the Helmets and Heels host in the Making Monsters podcast, courtesy of Windy City Gridiron. She's hanging out with us on the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color of sports on Chicago City. Lakina here with you. Taylor, even though the Detroit Lions won on Thursday night, they upset the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Where do you see the Bears place in this NFC North when this 2023 season is all said and done? Where do you see the Bears?
Yeah, it's a hard question. We've talked about this a lot on Helmets and Heels. We actually just picked like our each division winners and who we think will win the division, who we think the wild card teams are, all of that.
Right.
The NFC in general is really hard for me because it's almost opposite. The AFC is hard because there's so many good teams. It's hard to pick somebody who won't go farther. And the NFC is almost opposite. And that's what I think may benefit the Bears a little bit this season, but it could also benefit obviously some of the other teams in the NFC North. I personally have the Lions winning the North in my picks that I had recently. I just think the way they ended the season last year, and obviously I picked this even before last night's game. But the way they ended the season last season, how great their offense looked and how efficient it looked. And then they added some pieces this year to their defense to bulk that up a little bit, which was a major issue last season. The first half of the year, most of the games they were losing was because of their defense. And so they worked on that. I'm not sure how many wins they will have, but I just have Lions sitting at the top. The Bears Vikings I kind of see battling for that second spot. I personally picked the Bears and the Vikings in my picks to both make have a wild card spot. And so I see both of them possibly sitting around 8-9 wins, and just because the NFC is not very good, being able to scrape in. And then I have the Packers just below them at like 7 wins. So that's kind of the way I see it lining up. But I think that this division could truly go anyway. If the Bears won 12 games this year, I wouldn't be completely surprised. If the Bears won 5 games, I wouldn't be completely surprised. And that's just kind of where I am, just because there are a lot of question marks and a lot of guys that you are expecting to take a step up this season and their second, third seasons. And then there's also a lot of newness to the roster, thankfully, because they needed a lot of new pieces because last year was not working. But I do think a lot of it, and you mentioned it in the beginning, Sydney, that a lot of it revolves around Justin Fields. How much of a step does Justin Fields take? Some people think he needs one more year, and next year's the year. So if he can even start to grasp at this a little bit, the Bears can win 9-10 games if he's able to just even reach out the potential he has.
Now, I would be remiss if we didn't give you any Jaguars questions since you're down there in Central Florida. But yeah, I mean, Jacksonville is being picked by a lot of people, including us. I also have them win the AFC South. Of course, we know about Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. They got Calvin Ridley, fresh off a year-long suspension. Of course, you got Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. You got a solid defense down there too. So what do you think the chances are perhaps maybe not only win a division, the AFC South, but also to maybe perhaps, sizing up for the rest of the teams in the AFC?
Yeah, I think the mindset here is beyond the AFC. I think here it's almost like a lock that they'll win the AFC South as the media is talking here and fans are talking here, just from the vibes in the locker room, what they were able to do and what they looked like in camp in the preseason this last year, and obviously how they looked towards the end of last year. The comeback win against the Chargers, I think, kind of just like vaulted them into another level of confidence. And then they were very close to beating the Chiefs. And granted, you can say that the Jacks kind of scraped into those positions last year because they put themselves in a position where they had to win 6 games straight at the end of the year to make it into the postseason. They also, at the same time, needed the Titans to lose all of the rest of their games to make it. So it was a game away on either side from them not even making the postseason. But then when they get there, they're able to come back and bounce back from Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 back-to-back interceptions in the playoffs and still came out of that a winner. And so I think when you're looking at just that and what they're expecting these guys to take this next level, and like you said, with the addition of Calvin Ridley, the offense they're expecting to be a very high-scoring power offense, and being able to use ETN in that realm also helps. They also made a couple picks this offseason in their draft that they're Tank Bigsby, a running back. They're expecting him to be a big playmaker in addition to a tight end they took in Brenton Strange, kind of helping Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram had a career year last year, but he's more of a receiving tight end. So they definitely needed that tight end that's able to block and do a little bit more of that type of things. And they feel they found that. Their defense, similar to the Bears, that defensive line is their major kind of looming question mark because they just don't have. They also had very little pass rush last year, very little sacks. There was just not a whole lot up front, and they virtually did nothing. But what they are hoping is the guys that they drafted the year before and Devin Lloyd and Trayvon Walker take their sophomore leap and really start making some plays. So if that's the case, I think that if those two guys really take that leap up and the defense can just get a notch a little higher and Trevor Lawrence continues to do what Trevor Lawrence has been able to do, then I think a lot of people are expecting more of like championship round team here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I know that this is not important, but I don't care. This is our show. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, they're your star running back. First of all, I have both of them on my fantasy team. I got Etienne starting on Sunday. So I think he's going to have a big year. I'm talking about Etienne, both of them, but I think Travis Etienne is going to have a big year. I got Trevor Lawrence as my backup quarterback. Nice. My number one is Justin Fields, so you just tell your friends. So there you go. Last moment or two with Miss Taylor Dahl of SB Nation and Helmet and Heels podcast. She's hanging out with us here on Second City Sports, live in the Living Color on Sports Zone Chicago. Taylor, I read in your bio that you were born in Jacksonville, but you were raised in Northwest Indiana. I assume that's where the passion of following the Bears and the Chicago Cubs. You can tell I'm a White Sox fan, but I'll leave that alone. But where did the passion of sports come from? You were raised in Northwest Indiana. Where did it come from? Your parents, other relatives in your family? How did that passion of sports come about?
Yeah, I think it kind of just has been something that's trickled on through generations of my family, to be honest. My great grandpa, he actually played Major League Baseball, and he was a big sports fan. He passed that along to my grandpa, who passed it along to my dad, and so on. And it kind of trickled through the family. I'm a little more intense about sports even than a lot of the men in my family. I just obviously work in sports and I love sports. So I'm like a little more passionate about it than them. I have like a couple cousins that I can text on a normal basis and they're like about at the same level. But yeah, they all grew up right outside Chicago, that side, my mom's side of the family. And so it just trickled down from there. My mom kind of very young was putting me in Bears gear. We were watching Bears games, going to Notre Dame and Bears games. And so I just kind of took all of that and ran away with it into a whole other level of loving sports. But it definitely just is when I think you have family that grew up right outside Chicago or in Chicago or around Chicago, that doesn't go away no matter what city you were born in. My family wouldn't have let me be a Jags fan from the get-go because they would have been like, no, you love the Bears. And I'm like, okay.
Well, Helmets and Heels. I like that. I like the title of that show. No, was that your creation? Was that somebody else's creation? How did that name kind of come about?
Yeah, actually, it started, I want to say we're 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago now. I haven't been on it from the start, though. I've been on probably almost 4 years. But so when it started and originated, it actually came to fruition because of the Jaguars owner, Shad Khan. Shad Khan wanted a female talk show, and kind of came to our GM here at 1010XL and was like, hey, I'd really like, some female perspectives. There's not a lot of females in the industry in general, especially all girls sports talk shows. Come to find out, it did not exist. Helmets and Heels was the first one in the nation to have an all-female sports talk show. So it's really cool to kind of have that and be able to be the first ones to push that out there. Like, hey, this can succeed and you can do this and you can talk sports and you can be a woman and love and talk and know what you're talking about and appreciate football just as much as one of the guys in the building. So it was really Shad Khan came to my GM. My GM said, that's a great idea. At the time, it was Jessica Blaylock was one of the original girls. She now is the team reporter for the Marlins and team reporter for the Florida Panthers. And so she's gone on to do great things. Lauren Brooks, who's still currently on it, is here. And then Donna Murphy, who just recently left, but she was one of the originators too. Those three kind of took me under their wings and showed me a lot of the things that I know and kind of made me a part of that show as a fourth person for a while. And it's just grown since then. So it's been really fun just because we get to do our own thing. It's a different take than a lot of people get during the daytime because obviously there's certain subjects that just like I probably can't properly speak on. There's certain subjects that maybe some people can't speak on that women in the industry can. So it's been really fun to be able to share my voice through that outlet. And people appreciate it. Like people you hear on Twitter, the guys making fun of girls who don't know football. But here in Jacksonville, they've been very open. Like the guys here in Jacksonville love Helmets and Heels because we have sports, but we talk about music and we talk about lifestyle and we talk about, like growing up, like why we are so passionate the way that we are. But we're also all very open to learning about football and we ask questions and we try to understand deeper. And I think they appreciate that. So it's been really fun to be able to have my voice be a part of that.
Yeah, it's really a great show to listen to. And like I said, I watched the last couple of episodes. You can watch it here on YouTube, folks. Just type in Helmets and Heels, and you can catch our girl, Taylor Dahl, one of the co-hosts of that program. Last question for me, Taylor, before we spring you. Of course, as I mentioned, you work with the Windy City Gridiron. Of course, Lester Wilfong Jr., he's a great friend of this program. We love having him on. But how did you catch on with him in working with him in the Windy City Gridiron as far as Bear content is concerned?
Yeah, so it was actually Jeff on Windy City Gridiron. He reached out to me. He was doing a podcast episode on women in sports. And so he asked me to come on the podcast and just kind of talk about my journey and how I started on Helmets and Heels and, got my kind of start in the sports industry. And after the podcast, he immediately texted me and was like, "You are too good to just be talking about Jaguars football. Do you want to start a Bears podcast?" And I was like, at first I was a little hesitant because I was like, I'm busy. I'm also our social media director here at 1010. So I'm like, I'm running our website. I'm running our social media in addition to having a show. I just don't know how much time I can dedicate to this. And so we had some conversations. We were able to come up with a plan. And that's when I was like, it may be fun to do something where Making Monsters, the premise of Making Monsters is going beyond the X's and O's. And I go back and I talk to high school coaches and college coaches and brothers and sisters and dads and talk about how this player got to the NFL and how they got to the Chicago Bears. So it's a little bit different of a premise, but it's really cool because sometimes I think we get lost in the football world and fantasy football and we forget that these people are humans and their stories are really, really cool. And some of these stories are heartbreaking and some stories are triumphant and some stories are just, wow, just the right person saw this guy at the right time and it changed his entire path of, his entire life. And so Jeff and I kind of went back and forth with that, and Lester got involved at this point, and they were like, we'd love to have you on. We'll do a little trial period just to see how you like it and if you can manage it and how, much you can actually, you feel like you can be a part of this team. And so I think it was about after a month, they were like, "We really hope you stay because everything's been great." And so I ended up staying on, and now it's a little over a year of having Making Monsters. And it's been really, really fun. I've talked to all sorts of coaches and players. And like I said, I talked to Travis Gibson's brother last season. And he just went on this whole rant about how, how Travis started in middle school and how offenses, when this kid was in 8th grade, were planning their whole scheme around to stay away from Travis. And just hearing things like that are really fun to kind of go back through and figure out about these guys. So that's kind of the start of it and how it's progressed throughout the time. But a lot of thanks to Lester and Jeff because of them that I have that platform to be able to talk about the Bears.
Well, we love the work that you're doing. So again, thank you so much for joining us today, Taylor. We're definitely going to be having you back on. So where people can find you on, social media and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, so my Twitter is at TayDahl1010XL. That is where I put most of my stuff. I do have a TikTok also that I've been doing a little bit more Bears content on. So if you are on TikTok, you can follow me on there. It's at TaylorDahl90. And then Windy City Gridiron, that's where all of our stuff is posted on there. You'll find my podcast, Making Monsters, on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast. And this year, I'm actually going to start doing a video element. Last year, I didn't. It was just audio. So this year, I'm kind of transitioning, and certain episodes will also be on video. So you'll be able to find that on the Second City Gridiron YouTube.
All right, that was Taylor Dahl. Thank you so much for joining us today, young lady. Please keep up the great work. And like Lakina said, we'll definitely have you back here on the program throughout the season. Enjoy the NFL season. Enjoy the Bears game. And hopefully the Bears can come out with the win over those ugly-ass Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Rodgers or no Rodgers. I just want the Bears to win.
I know. Me too. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Taylor. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right, so we got to do our, that was Taylor Dahl, of course, from Helmets and Heels, of course, Making Monsters here. Of course, you guys can check her stuff out on YouTube and all other places as well. So, Sid, we got our other girl, Christine Manika, on deck from KXRB. So, we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to do our NFL Week 1 picks. We're back at that again this year. We're going to knock Sid out after his 2 wins in a row. So, we're going to make that. We'll try to recap also to Lions and Chiefs as well. So, so a lot to do still as we wrap things up here. Second Seed Sports on Sports on Chicago. Our NFL picks coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized. These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this 2023 season debut of Hashtag Football Friday. We're live here in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X, I can't again, the IG.
We're in the last break of the show for today and for the weekend, and around this time during football season, it is time for our NFL Pigskin Pick'ems. And to help us do that, we call on always our homegirl from KXRB Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Here comes Miss Christine, the Queen, Manika. What up, Christine?
Hi, guys. How are ya?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, good. I'm anxious to see what's the surprise guest, Sid. You were teasing me about that last week.
Yeah, we got to knock him out, Christine. He's one back to back. So yeah, we got to.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no tease, so it's just us three again this year. I know.
We really want to.
I know.
Yeah, I know. He teased me too. I had no clue. So.
That's on me. But before we get to our picks, Christine, I want to get your thoughts about last night's the Detroit Lions 21-20 upset of the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, Travis Kelce was out for Kansas City. Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs, he was sitting in the stands, but he says if he doesn't get a raise, he will not play before week 8. What were your thoughts about Detroit's win last night on the road?
Yeah, I'll be honest. So it's Sanford International Week. So Chris and I had to play golfer wife for a second and see a couple of the guys that are out here last night. But I caught some of the highlights, and I said probably yesterday morning when I was talking with the guys over at ESPN here in Sioux Falls that Mahomes historically has not always been top notch his first game of the season, and that's to be expected, right? Like there's going to be some bumps in the road here and there. This time around, nobody was catching the ball for the poor guy. I mean, he was throwing them, and unfortunately there was no connection there. And with the Lions, they got an energy about them. I don't know what it is, but as a Bears fan, I'm nervous when the Lions come into town. When we play them eventually. I thought David Montgomery looked great. He gave me at least 30 points or 19 points for my fantasy football league. So this is good. I like what I see with that. And you know what? That was a good close game. It could have been a way different. It had Mahomes had Travis Kelce with him, I think. But that was a good game to kick off the NFL season.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing, like the whole the weirdness of all that whole game. I mean, the Chiefs went for it on 4th and 25, even though they could have went forward when they were like near their own near the 40 or something like that. And then of course Detroit, you thought for Detroit that they're going to Detroit for a little bit, but that ended up being the case. And look, Jared Goff was only sacked once. That whole line looks really good for Detroit.
Really good. I'm nervous.
That could. Yeah, look. I mean, I know people want to put the asterisk on there. Will Kelce wasn't there, Chris Jones, but look, Mac Nagy.
Mike Tirico did last night.
Well, yeah. Well, no, look. Mac Nagy's calling the plays. Just saying.
Exactly.
Christine.
They don't have a lot of their key players either on the Chiefs side. I mean, if you think about last year when Tyreek Hill left, I mean, I know they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, but a team is never the same after they win a they win a championship.
I don't know. You caught this. I don't know. You've caught this, Lakina, last night, but I don't know if Melissa Stark interviewed Detroit head coach Dan Campbell. You're talking about the energy, Christine. But I don't know if you caught this, Lakina. But Melissa Stark interviewed Dan Campbell coming out of the locker room to start the second half. Of course, they got that pick six and Detroit got rolling. But it sounded like Dan Campbell lost his voice. If that was the case, I can imagine how he was in that locker room at halftime last night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you know it. You know he probably lost his voice. You saw that old video that the Lions social media people posted after the game. So that sounds about right that he lost his voice. So they get to enjoy this for a little bit. So they get 10 days off, and look, they're in a good mood. So so it should be interesting there. Now let's get to our picks, folks, because we're all gonna keep each other honest this year. So this is gonna get.
You won by like 2 games, and I was right behind you.
I know you were right there. You were right there, Christine.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm gonna try and keep a separation from you guys this year. That's my goal. So we'll see what happens. Real quick, Christine, who else is on your fantasy team this year?
Who else? I have Lamar Jackson's the quarterback.
Okay, good.
I got Justin Tucker for kicker.
Okay.
We have Hankinson from the Vikings.
TJ Hankinson,
we benched him this week. Thank God they re-signed him, because who knows what would have happened after that.
Yeah, right.
And then I can't think of. That's the names you're putting me on the spot. I'm gonna have to look a little bit more, but those are the top players that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Oh, and Montgomery, obviously.
Montgomery had 21 carries and 74 yards last night in a touchdown. So he did look good in his debut in the Lions uniform.
Yes, he did. I'm sure he's got those Bears games circled. I'm just saying.
Bears made a big mistake there. I'm still have a chip on my shoulder for that one.
She's still miffed about that. Look, I'm sure you're not the only one who feels that way. So let's get right to it and give our picks here. Of course, our first game right off the bat. This is a Fox game. We got NFC South here. You got Panthers and Falcons. Sid, you start this one for us.
The Atlanta Falcons are favored by 3.5. Of course, they didn't play any of their starters during the preseason. Of course, for the Falcons. Their new quarterback is second-year guy Desmond Ridder. Of course, you have second-year wide receiver Drake London and rookie running back Bijan Robinson. On the flip side for the Panthers, they have rookie quarterback Bryce Young and new head coach Frank Wright. I know some people are picking the Falcons to be that surprise team, but I got to see more in order to maybe force me to believe it. On that alone, I'm picking the Carolina Panthers as my upset. So I'm going with the Panthers.
Oh, okay. All right. Christine.
Sid, you and I are on the same team. I'm going with the Panthers too. Another key player that's going to be on the offense for them is Adam Thielen. After the Vikings let him go, he's going to be another huge asset. I think to Bryce Young, just his vertical and the way that he can just grab the ball, that's going to be a big help for Bryce, especially this being his official first NFL game. So I got a lot of confidence in the young buck, and I got more confidence in the Panthers than I do the Falcons.
Well, yeah, look, I know some people have the Falcons as perhaps maybe a sleeper this year. I don't know if I'm ready to give them that yet, but I'm going with you guys. I'm going to say Carolina too. I think just because I think Bryce Young should look okay in his first big NFL start, and I think the Falcons, I'm just not there believing in them yet. So okay, so yeah, well, that should be a fun one though in the NFC South matchup now.
Great start, guys. We're on the same team.
I know, right? You gotta love that. We might be on the same team for this one here. Our buddy Spiro Diaz will be calling this game on CBS. Another noon game. We got Texans and Ravens. Christine, you start this one for us.
Not just because he's my fantasy quarterback. I still got somewhat faith in the fan base over there in Baltimore. Those fans can get rowdy. I mean, just rowdy. And I think the guys that they have on their team, it's a little bit better than what the Texans got going on right now. I have no idea what their team is going to look like. It could be a train wreck, or they can be the team to surprise this year. And I'm more interested to see I'm just interested to see what the Ravens can do this year after all the drama that happened on the offseason. So I'm picking the Ravens.
Baltimore's favored by 9.5. Of course, this will be the debut of new wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. for Baltimore as a new target for Lamar Jackson. On the flip side for the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, the rookie quarterback out of Ohio State, will get the start. I think he will improve as the year goes on, but this is going to be his education of welcome to the NFL, my friend. So I'm going with Baltimore at home.
Short and sweet, I'm saying Baltimore too. Like I don't know what the Titans are going to look. I don't know how they're going to look. So
guys,
I know we got to get a little a little separation here. So, but I don't know if we'll have it on this game. But we'll see. You got the Battle of Ohio in the AFC North. You got the Bengals and the Browns. Joe Burrow got a nice little fresh paper, $275 million. So I'll start this one. He's going to be back, so he might be a little bit rusty since he didn't play in the preseason, but this could be one of those 9-6, 6-3 type of things. I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but I'm going to say I'm going to step out. I'm going to say, I thought about, I'm going to take the Bengals. Like, I ain't that crazy. Like, I would take the Bengals. Christine?
Joe Money all the way with the Bengals. The Browns, as long as Deshaun Watson's the quarterback, they are dead to me right now still. So going with Joe Money.
Oh, Christine giving Burrow a new nickname on the show. I do like that. Joe Money.
He might like that. He'll like that, though, I think.
Yeah, you better call his agency to figure out you can get some money and make some money off of that.
Can get a right on that.
Right.
I'll say get that patent, Christine.
Yeah. I think the Browns are back, but I don't think they'll be back enough to make a playoff push. But I think they'll have enough to beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home. So I'm going in an upset with the Browns at home. Cincinnati is a 2-point favorite on the road, so the Vegas is giving you a slightly 1-point edge for the Browns because they're home. So Cincinnati is favored by 2 on the road. So I'm going with Cleveland.
Okay, all right, interesting. Oh yeah, I'll say you got Christine's in shock here, folks. You guys are watching this. Yeah, she's in shock. AFC South, you got the Jags and the Colts. With the Colts, you got Anthony Richardson, starting QB. They got a new coaching staff. The Jags, hopefully they're not going to look too far ahead in this one. So it'll be close for a little bit, but I'm going to say the Jaguars. Sid?
I need running back Travis Etienne for the Jaguars to do well for me and my fantasy team. But outside of that, the Jaguars are the better team. They better not overlook the Colts. As we talked about in our last segment, Lakina, they're picked by me, including us, for the Jaguars to win the AFC South. So the Jaguars are the better team. They're favored by 5 points, even on the road. So I'm going with Jacksonville.
Well, if Jeff Saturday was still the coach, I'd pick, the Colts for Jeff Saturday. But no, I'm kidding. Statistically, the Jaguars, they're just the better team. Again, you don't know what you're going to get out of the Colts this year. And again, Jonathan Taylor was about to be traded. So who knows what would have happened if that was the case for the Colts. They're just, this is a rebuild season for them, I think. So I'm going to go with the Jags.
I think we all agree on that as being a rebuild. Now, another team that could be rebuilding, we don't know. We got the Bucks and the Vikings interdivisional game. Sid, you start this one for us.
For those of you in the Chicagoland area, this game will air on CBS right before the Bears game. Of course, both networks will have double headers starting this Sunday. But for the Chicagoland area, your first game on CBS will be Tampa Bay in Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 5.5. We don't know what Tampa Bay is going to be made of this year. I know Baker Mayfield is on his last legs as a starting quarterback. Of course, the Vikings, I expect them to take a small step back because of their defense and some of the talent, as Christine mentioned, with that and Thielen being gone in the offseason. Minnesota is still a better team. They're 5.5-point favorites at home. Kirk Cousins better not turn the ball over, else it's going to be a long day for him. I'm going with Minnesota.
All right. Christine?
I'm going to go with the Vikings here. Again, like what you were saying, Sid, we don't know what the team the Bucks is going to look like this year. Who knows? Baker could be back. It can happen. But I think right now, looking at both teams, the Vikings just look stronger to me. And if I am correct, and if you are correct, Sid, in your pick, we're going to see 2 Chainz Kirk Cousins on Sunday.
Who doesn't love 2 Chainz Kirk Cousins? I mean,
yes.
Look, I mean,
or 5 chains, however many he's wearing.
Well, yeah, I think he's like 4 chains or something. But yeah, I think the Vikings will win this. I think that they're a better team, even though they've gotten rid of some of their top guys. I think they still got a nice little young core. That you still got Justin Jefferson. So and look, I think this should be interesting too. But we'll see. I mean, I think the Bucks are. I don't know, but yeah, they could be really building as well. And the whole Mike Evans situation, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. All right. As a second season sports on Sports So Chicago, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, our girl KXRB's Christine Manika from doing our NFL picks once again this year. So we're about halfway through these noon games. You got Titans and Saints. So could be very interesting here. So Christine, you go first.
I don't know what to think of this one either, in all honesty. It can go kind of either way, I feel like. So just for the heck of it, I'm picking the Titans. They look stronger to me, in my opinion. The Saints, they're kind of going through again another rebuild / not rebuilding, but yeah, I'm going with the Titans.
I'm going with the Saints. They're 3-point favorites at home. Of course, they have new quarterback Derek Carr. Of course, the running back Alvin Kamara will miss the first 3 games. So I think this game will come down to possibly whoever scores last, perhaps a potential game-winning field goal because of the absence of Alvin Kamara. But the Saints defense is still good. The Titans defense is still good. But I think it'll come down to a last-second field goal, and I'm going with the Saints.
This is a toss-up for me, but I guess I'll pick the Saints too because they're at home. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans pull it out. I wouldn't be shocked. So we'll see. Next game here should be an interesting one. Another Fox game. We got the 49ers and the Steelers. I'll start this one. I mean, I know the whole thing about, going cross country, for the West Coast team and playing a new game. I know. Look, these guys have been doing this for years now. Nick Bosa, another guy that got his money, so he's going to be extra motivated to prove
money.
Yes, Buddy Bosa. I think that should be. I don't know, Joey. His brother might not like that, but I think he might be getting the bragging rights there. But yeah, I know the Steelers. I know Kenny Pickett. I know they still got Najee Harris, but the 49ers, I know, hopefully Brock Purdy, hope he has a bionic elbow because, you're traded Trey Lance, but I'll say 49ers just because I think they're a little bit better. I know they're going to be in Pittsburgh. I know Heinz Field's going to be rocking, but I'm picking the 49ers. Sid?
This game will air on Fox here here in Chicago before the Bears-Packers game. The 49ers are favored by 2.5 points. Of course, I'm starting the 49ers defense in my fantasy league. But with that being said, even though I really wanted to pick the Steelers, but the 49ers are overall better teams. I'm going with the 49ers in a close one.
I feel purdy. I'm going to go with the 49ers here again.
Oh, I love it. She got the zingers today. Christine got the zingers out today. I love it. I love it. I love it.
She got the zip on the fastball.
Yeah, she put a little zip on those zingers today. Love it. Love it. Cardinals and Commanders are last of the new games. I mean, we know the Cardinals are tanking. I guess Josh Dobbs is going to start. So, I'll short and sweet. I'm picking the Commanders. I'm keeping it short and sweet and to the point.
Same, Commanders.
Washington's favored by 7. They should win more than that, so I'm going with Washington.
And you can tell the new energy there, too, with the new ownership and everything else. Of course, Magic Johnson's part of the new ownership group. So, yeah, I think they're going to feed off that energy. So, yeah, they might surprise some people this year. All right, first of the 325ers, you got the Raiders and the Broncos in the AFC West. Sid, you start.
Too bad Christine's soon-to-be husband is not on here because I think I know who he's going to pick. But I'm gonna pick this team for him anyway. I'm going with the Broncos. They're favored by 3.5 points at home. They usually do well, especially in the month of September. I'm talking about the Broncos at home. Las Vegas, they have all sorts of problems. I know Jimmy G's their new starting quarterback. I know they've done well in Denver here and there over the last few years, but this is a season opener. Russell Wilson is expected to improve. They have new head coach Sean Payton. I think they'll give the fans something to cheer about. So I'm going with Denver at home.
Christine?
I don't know why. Maybe it's, when they signed Jimmy G, it was the suit and the look. I don't know. I mean, come on. The man's got it. I don't know what it is, but the man's got it. I'm blushing even saying it. I just don't know with the Broncos how that's going to play out, considering Sean Payton pretty much has a big job on his hands trying to strain out the team and get them all united into one group instead of having, your star quarterback, Russell Wilson, having his own office, own trainer, own coach, whatever else is going on. So I think it's going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised, since Russell's trying to save his job, that Denver wins. But I got to go with the $1 million Jimmy G smile.
I think it might be in the Manika household later tonight.
I hope Chris isn't watching this.
I'm sure Chris would agree. I mean, Chris doesn't know what to expect either. So, yeah.
It is hard to kind of what to expect for this. I mean, I don't know. This is another one of those toss-up games. I guess I'll pick the Broncos since they're at home. But again, if the Raiders pull it out, I don't think anybody will be surprised. But should be a fun one. Another fun one here on CBS. You got the Dolphins and the Chargers. I'm going to pick the Chargers. I'm hoping. I don't look like an idiot here like I usually do when I pick the Chargers. So I'm hoping Justin Herbert has a big game, a big year. He got that big money now. I'm hoping that defense, a lot of the injuries and such last year, they made some moves. So I'm hoping the Chargers won't look bad again. So I'm picking the Chargers.
Ooh, I think I'm going to go with the Chargers with you, Lakina. You're not crazy thinking that. Knowing that Tua, this could be his last season. And if the poor guy gets another bad hit or concussion, he could be done for. So I think they're going to try to play it safe. Not too safe for this first game, the Dolphins. But again, with a guy like Tyreek Hill, that's on your side, literally. They could shock everybody this game and just come out way far ahead of the Chargers. But I think for now, I'm going to stick with the Chargers.
I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers as well. They are 3-point even home favorites. Of course, the over-under total is 51. Don't be surprised it's a high-scoring affair. You mentioned the Lakina about Justin Herbert. He got fresh paper too this all season. Great point, Christine, about Tua Tagovailoa. he needs to stay healthy, or of course, the Dolphins got away with it last year, barely sneaking into the playoffs. Because remember, they had that hot start before Tua went out with that injury. But I don't think luck will be on their side this year if he gets hurt again. So I'm going with the Chargers. And P.S. I have Tyreek Hill on my fantasy team, so I need him to put up some points.
Yeah. Could be a tough one there. Another good one here. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wilson will be at this game. We got the Eagles and the Patriots. Christine, you start this one.
We didn't really hear much from the Patriots, aside that the fact that apparently Bill Belichick and his longtime girlfriend are kaputs. They're done. That's pretty much all we heard from them this season. And the fact that Ezekiel Elliott last week is now officially a New England Patriot. So that's an interesting couple of developments the last few weeks, right? But other than that, we really haven't heard much from them. I think the Eagles are hungry. I think they want that Super Bowl ring. I think Jalen Hurts is itching to get back into that big stage. And, Jason Kelce, this could be his last year, too. They're doing this whole Amazon Prime documentary of him and Travis and whatnot. Then I guess they have a third brother. I didn't know that there was a third brother. But
there's a third brother.
So anyway, back to the game. I think the Eagles, they're just hungry and they want to get back into it. They want to have the same start as they did last year and throughout the whole season. So I'm picking the Eagles.
I'm going with Philadelphia, too. They are 4-point favorites on the road. New England, if they're going to have any chance to pull off the upset, they must run the ball, as you mentioned, with DeMondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. And they got to create some turnovers. That's a young and hungry Patriots defense, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Philadelphia's a better team. I expect them to win it on the road.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think the Eagles are hungry. They're on a mission. They want to go back to the Super Bowl. They felt that they should have won it last year. So they're on a mission. They made some moves this year. So we'll see what happens. Should be a good game. Rams and Seahawks in the NFC West matchup. Say you start this one.
The Seattle Seahawks, who made it to the playoffs last year at 9-8, barely beating out the Detroit Lions. They're 5-point favorites at home. Of course, the Rams are going through their rebuilding stages, of course. Like Christine mentioned about Tua Tagovailoa, Matthew Stafford, he had a bunch of injuries last year, including a couple of concussions. If he has one big bad hit, I think his career is over. It looks like they may not have wide receiver Cooper Kupp to start the year. Right. If that's the case, this could get ugly in a hurry. But whether or not Cooper Kupp plays, I think Seattle walks away with this one.
I agree. I'm going with the Seahawks too for this one. Geno, I think he's ready to go. They surprised a lot of people last year, the Seahawks, and I think they're going to do that, especially for their first game of the season. And not having Cooper Kupp, that is going to hurt the Rams, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think Geno wants to prove to folks that he is worthy of that new money that he got. He got some fresh paper this year too, and no Cooper Kupp. That's a big problem. The defense is still a little bit of a struggling too. We don't know if Aaron Donald, this might be his last season. He's kind of floated out there too. So so this could get real quick in Seattle, but we'll see what happens. The Sunday nighter, you got the Cowboys and the Giants in the NFC East. Now, I'm feeling a little bit. I don't know what to expect from neither team. So I have no clue what you're gonna see. I know Cowboys have made some big moves during the offseason. This is going to be the last year that guarantee money from Dak. I know he's got a lot to prove. Giants, I know Saquon Barkley's on a prove-it deal. Daniel Jones got some fresh paper. This could be close. Jeez. I might regret this later, but yeah, I'm picking the Giants, I guess, because they're at home.
Man, I'm going with the Cowboys. I don't know why, but I want to see both teams succeed, right? I want to see Daniel Jones succeed as his position as quarterback for the Giants. I want to see Dak Prescott succeed too in his position as the quarterback for the Cowboys. This can honestly go either way, I think, this game, but to do a little shock factor, I'm going to do the Cowboys.
I'm going with Dallas. They're 3.5-point road favorites.
Which, I wouldn't be surprised too. I mean, this is a division match that they always play well against each other. Now, another good one in the AFC West, a Monday nighter. This will be streamed on both ABC, ESPN, ESPN2 with the Manning Cast, ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, just about everywhere else. Probably, I'm sure Disney Plus too. I'm sure they're going to show this game somewhere. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Bills and Jets. Sid, you start this one for us.
Yeah, I know Christine will be happy because of the Manning cast will make its season debut.
Yes.
Of course, on 9/11, of course, that's going to be a whole lot of emotion there. The Jets are 2.5-point underdogs at home, so the Bills are the favorite. Remember, folks, the Bills have struggled against the Jets in New York over the last 4 years, so it's something to look at. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be fired up and ready to go. Of course, the Jets were featured on Hard Knocks this year. Just because of all the emotion and just because of the anticipation of this new team, I'm going with A-Rod in the Jets. A-Rod in the Jets.
Oh, boy.
Excuse me. Pardon me, Elton John.
Oh, boy. Christine.
Before I give my pick, your favorite half of me, Chris just walked in. I want to get his thoughts on the Raiders Broncos. What do you think, Chris? I said Jimmy G. He's looking at me.
He probably gonna be like, "What?" Huh?
Working guys going at it.
That's hilarious.
I'm going Broncos.
He went Broncos. Okay.
See,
you weren't sure. I said it was something with the black suit that Jimmy G just pulled me in to pick the Raiders.
Where is he going to get that on the NFL pick segment? That's why we do what we do.
This is gold. This is gold. This is gold.
Yes.
All right.
I love
Bills
it.
and Jets, because I don't want to have Aaron Rodgers create another dynasty for another team. I'm going with the Bills.
You're going with the Bills.
Someone needs to take him down in New York. Someone.
This is gonna be very close with all the emotions of the stuff. So I think DeMar Hamlin making his first start again after
that's right.
After what happened. They of course 9/11 in New York. Technically it's Jersey, but we're not being technical here. But yeah, I'm picking Bills. I think the Bills. It's gonna be very close. This could come down to like a last who has the ball last, something like that. But I think the Bills. But it's gonna be very close. So. This should be a good one on Monday night, so it should be a lot of fun. Now, last but not least, you got the beloved Bears hosting the Packers. Of course, you got the number one team, the first 3 straight for the number one team for Fox: Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. Christine, you start this one.
Well, I won't go into a rant just yet. I want to see what happens. You got Jordan Love making his first start, and then you got not his first start, but you know what I mean, first opening start.
Right,
Then you got a couple of key defensive men that's going to be out, presumably, for this game too. Fields, he's got all the tools now, and this is what I was talking about last season, that he needed those tools in order to be able to throw the ball. I'm not discrediting him for setting records for rushing yards. I think that's great. But in my mind, he's a quarterback. The guy that should be setting those records is your running back, not you as the quarterback. You got to be doing those passing yards. That's what I want to see. I want to see more passing and just more of a team camaraderie on the field instead of you holding the ball and running forward, feeling responsible, if that makes sense.
Right.
So with that, I'm gonna go with the Bears. And I say that holding my breath. I really want Fields to do well this year. I do, but it just we'll see how it plays out.
She's not a Fields hater, folks.
No, I'm not. It's just when you're talking about a franchise quarterback, you got to have the passing element in there, and he just hasn't been able to do that yet. And hopefully this year he'll turn it around.
Yeah, he has some reps in front of him now. I think they're going to be utilized well. Of course, I got 3 of them on my fantasy team: Fields, Darnell Mooney, and DJ Moore. So they better do something for me on Sunday. But it's all going to come down to that offensive line, guys. Whatever chemistry they develop, they got to hold up Fields upright. If they do that, I think they should blow out the Packers, to be honest with you. But I think it's going to be kind of a close game. I think closer than what people expect. I know the Bears are 1-point favorites, so basically it's had to pick them. So I'm going to pick the Bears. They are the better team on paper, despite their problems on our concerns on the offensive line. They're a better team. They should run the ball, which opens it up more for Justin Fields for those receivers and tight ends like Holcomb to get loose. So I'm going with the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a blowout on either way. I just think that I think both teams are pretty much even. For me, that O-line is still a little bit of a problem. I think both quarterbacks are going to do well. I think the key is going to be that O-line. Also, the defense, too. People forget, the Packers defense actually pretty solid themselves. So they're like one of the tops last year, especially when it came to, rushing. So, rushing, a pass rush again. So, I'll say the Bears too, but I'm gonna put it on like an asterisk because like I feel like if they don't keep Fields upright, that's gonna be a problem. So
Yeah,
that's my little asterisk there. So watch Jordan Love throw for like 4 touchdowns or something like that, and ends up the Packers win it. So we'll see.
Chris, who are you picking? Bears and Packers.
Bears.
Ah, see, that was a quick answer from him. Bears.
Oh, okay. All right.
Came out, I've said Bears.
He said ever since the schedule came out, he said Bears 100%.
Oh, all right. We'll see. Should be interesting. Then, those are your picks for the NFL. This is Second City Sports on Chicago. Like Keenan, I guess Wi-Fi went out for a second. I'm sure he'll be back. There he is. Yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah, I got too excited.
I got a little too excited. Yeah, he unplugged him. So he unplugged his. I guess his computer, he got so excited, but so wrapping things up here, going outside the NFL for a second, of course, the Blackhawks, Chris Chelios, his number will be retired. So Pearl Jam actually made that announcement last night. So if you heard Chris Chelios' comments, he's at the Cubs game right now as they speak, as they're playing the Diamondbacks. He said he didn't think it would happen. So they've actually changed, I guess, the formula. So we're going to be seeing more and more guys from the Blackhawks retiring their jerseys. So Danny was already doing his thing. So good for him. He totally deserves it. I'm talking about Chelios.
Yeah, I saw one of the articles I read this morning that this was one of the last wishes of the down late owner Rocky Wirtz. So if that was the case, then I'm glad that wish was granted. Yeah. And the reason why they have this rule out, Lakina, you're going to start seeing more of those guys from those Stanley Cup teams getting their jerseys retired, like Brent Seabrook, who also wore number 7, of course, after Chelios, Duncan Keith, perhaps. Maybe Corey Crawford's number should be up there too, of course. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Kane when that time comes.
Yeah.
Maybe Sharpie too. I'm sure. I don't know when their first game will be against I think they only played like the Flyers like once at home this year, so maybe that'll be.
The jersey ceremony for Chris Chelios is on February 25th.
Okay.
Man, we're talking about all these numbers being retired, and I'm thinking, gosh, there's only so many numbers you can go up to for jerseys after that. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think hockey's a little bit different. I think Boston has like 30 guys his jerseys retired. So same thing with Montreal, I think. So I think hockey's a little bit different. So but yeah, it is sort of like kind of interesting with that. The U.S. Men's basketball, they lost against Germany in the FIBA championship.
Yeah.
But look, I preface this and I said it earlier. I mean, they hadn't won the FIBA championship since 2014, so it's been about a decade. And probably maybe Anthony Edwards, he's probably might be the only one, but no one on that team is going to be on the Olympics squad next year. I mean, it's not going to happen. I know Coach Steve Kerr said that, this is not 1992. Well, no, it's not, but you can't, play your team like your Golden State team. You're playing an international rule, so you may have to make some adjustments too, Mister. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, the Olympic results are like this at this time next year, then we really be concerned. But right now, I'm not too concerned.
Right, exactly. So I know you want to talk a little U.S. Open right quick, Sid.
Yeah, before we get to that, I want to get Christine's thoughts on Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Coach Prime. He pulled off the upset last week at TCU as Colorado beat TCU 45-42. Of course, tomorrow, Colorado will host Nebraska in a big new Saturday game on Fox as Colorado will try to go to 2-0. Christine, thoughts on Coach Prime? Did you watch the game last week, and will you watch tomorrow?
A little bit we watched it, and I'm all for it. I mean, I'm excited to see where he's going to go with that team. His son looked great as quarterback, so we're just we're just going to ride this wave. Who knows? I could be turning into a Colorado fan and fighting between my Fighting Irish, you know?
Well, but before we move on to Notre Dame, Christine, did you catch the comments from Coach Prime following the game? He was challenging a couple of reporters after the game, talking about, do you believe? As he said to Jenny Tapp of Fox Sports after the game, we keep receipts. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that, but that doesn't surprise me.
Well, Notre Dame, speaking of your Fighting Irish, you think they should be on upset alert tomorrow at North Carolina State?
Maybe. I love what Marcus Freeman is doing. I love the kids that he recruited and the kids that came back. This is an exciting time for the Irish.
Christine's fired up, ready to go.
She's fired up. She's ready.
All right, Lakini, you were talking about the U.S. tennis, the U.S. Open. Of course, Massey Keys, my girl, she had a chance to advance to the final to face Coco Gauff. She lost the Classic one last night. I was so heartbroken, but she gave it all she had. But the girl that beat her, do not take this the wrong way. Like I said, I got respect for everybody, but I'm tired of her ass grunting last night. I know she had a fastest server of 120 miles per hour at one point, Lakina. I don't know if you saw it last night, but
I did.
Every time she hit the ball, she started grunting. I was like, woman, would you shut up?
More power. You got to get that power.
Yeah,
I get it, but, that's just the pettiness in me. That's just saying, because I was just mad that Madison Keys lost. But
I know. But that was a tough loss for her. But I mean, look, that was a tough loss for her. But yeah, I mean, Sabalenka is one of the top players, and she's gonna be like number one when the new rankings come out on Monday.
No, she played like it turned into that match last night.
Yeah, and also she already has the Aussie Open. She won the Aussie Open earlier this year too. So, and I think she beat Coco. I think in the quarters, I believe. I think it was around the 16 to and root that. So I'm sure Coco's gonna want her revenge there as well, and also beating her girl Madison.
I'll be watching that one tomorrow.
Yeah, that should be a really good match between those two. And on the men's side, of course, you hope that Ben Shelton. Gonna be a tall order. He's playing Novak Djokovic right now as we speak. So. That'll be interesting. I'm sure Djokovic knows that no one's going to cheer for him. Most of the people here, so I don't think I'm sure he knows that. We'll see what happens. I'm sure he'll be facing the last winner of the last two U.S. Opens, Medvedev and Alcaraz, who's a defending champion. So look, it should be a good weekend coming up. So in between watching college football and NFL, of course, you can watch a little bit of the U.S. Open to finish that up.
Yep, Christine. Any other games that you're looking forward to, both college and or pro, this weekend?
I'm just excited for football. Sunday, just sitting in front of the TV, laptop in hand, ready to go.
Same. Oh yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, like I love this time of year. So football, and more football. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I can see Christine watching one game on the television, watching the Bears game on the laptop, and if something bad happens, especially with Chelsea Fields, she'll crash that computer onto the ground. Damn.
Oh no, we're gonna get the game on TV here. We'll be good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
she'll sign the remote then. Damn.
Yeah. I think most of the central players are gonna get that Packers Bears game. So they don't have to worry about streaming it on online. But anything else before we disperse, guys?
No. I know this is free advertising. This is probably the only time I'll mention it because we got a couple of friends over at ESPN 1000, i.e. Dion Miller, friend of the show, and friend of the show. But your new radio home for the Chicago Bears this year is at ESPN 1000. Their coverage will start Sunday at noon, 3 hours before the Bears game. Of course, Dion Miller, Lance Briggs, and I believe Mark Silverman will do the pregame show. They're your pregame show host. Jason McKee, former Bears fullback from the 2006 Super Bowl team, he'll patrol the sidelines. Of course, the postgame show will be Peggy Kaczynski and John Jurgovich. So download the ESPN Chicago app outside the Chicagoland area. You can listen to the Bears games right there. So ESPN 1000, ESPN Chicago is your new home for the Bears football on the radio. That's all the free advertising they get.
Well, yeah. Well, also, to Marquee Sports will be doing a post game, post Bears game as well. Of course, we talked about the NBC Sports Chicago. They're going to be, Marquee Sports, of course, with Taylor McGregor, who does a great job doing the Cubs dugout reporters, and also to Tom Waddle. So he's going to be doing some of the money as well. So lots of pregame stuff this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with there. And with that said, you can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at KXRB on the IG. You
can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where the lot of people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on Twitter at @Manika_KXRB.
Hey.
All right, we'd like to thank Miss Taylor Dahl from the Helmets and Heels podcast, and from Windy City Grand Army for joining us today to break down the Bears and Packers opening game for Sunday. And of course, we'd like to thank our lovely, prestigious Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, KXRB, as always. Since it's football season now, she'll be joining us every Friday to do her picks. So if you don't like it, too bad. If you love it, we're thankful to have you. So, Christine, as usual, you bring that heat. You had that zip to the fastball today. We love it as usual.
No, thank you. Next week you'll be missing that, but that'll be back next week. But then off again the next week after that. So
yeah,
crazy time.
But that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say. Well, we'll still have your picks, so we got the hookup there as well. Of course, you can catch Sports on Chicago anytime, anywhere. Of course, on Roku TV. Of course, whatever device you got on your whatever app store you use, just type in Sports on Chicago on the Roku app. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Falls, among other shows on as well. So it's all right there for you anytime, anywhere you want. You catch Sports on Chicago on Roku TV.
Yes, and catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, so enjoy all the football, college and pro. I know that the Sky have a big game coming up. We'll see if they can hang on to that. They're only a half game up on the Sparks for the last playoff spot. I think like 2 games left, I think. So you want to cheer for them for that. If you're into that, that'll be on tonight. Of course, you have the U.S. Open, baseball. Outside the White Sox. Sorry, guys. but enjoy all the great sports coming up this weekend. So stay safe and enjoy the games and be good to each other. For Sid and Christine, I'm the Kansas Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Bear down, Chicago Bears. Holla!